Hi, hey, and all those other greetings to adventurers. I'm Jake Spins, welcoming you guys back to my gaming and unboxing channel, where today we are finally going to pick back up on an old challenge that I've done. If you guys don't know, a while back I decided that I wanted to try to get all the different colors of Yoshi in plush form. Now, is this crazy? Yes. Is this a lot of money that is being wasted? Yes. Do I really love Yoshi? Yes. Um, but before we get into what the actual plush itself is, I do want to mention the fact that we do have a few new things for the collection that I just didn't know where to put in or go over. Now, something you might notice for my unboxing scenery is that we actually have a brand new shelf all the way over here. You guys can get a better glimpse of SP over here. But if we move SP and we drop the Mario a little bit, you guys can see I have a little Yoshi's Island shelf going by the Pokemon Village, which at the top we have a old Bowser and Bowser Jr. plush. I do want to get a new Bowser plush, but that's a topic for another day. Something that I got for my birthday, which is a giant Yoshi egg, which I thought was super cool and awesome, and I had really wanted for a while. So we now have a nice giant Yoshi egg, and I have a Boo by it because if you don't know, Boo is my favorite Mario enemy, and of course we have a bunch of different Yoshis. That is not all the Yoshi plush I have because orange and red Yoshi are downstairs for the Crafted World Let's Play. And then there's a potentially bootleg yellow Yoshi that I got when I was a kid that is not actually over there. So let's move the camera a little bit back. Let's put Mario back, and then let's put SV back. So the thing is, though, this video isn't just about Yoshi. It also involves another character that I have, for whatever reason, been super into collecting, and not even purposely, but a character that I really like, which is Luigi. He's really grown on me. He's now my favorite Mario brother. I just think he's super cool, and I just somehow keep liking the power-ups he has. We did the Kitsune Luigi, which I just thought is a really cool power up for Luigi. It's different from the Tanooki suit, and it just looks cool. I got the cat version of Luigi because it had the most standout design of the cat suits, as well as it just looked really good. We've got the Poltergeist or the Poltergust Luigi over there. We've got Polterpup with him, not a power-up of Luigi, but you guys get the point. Weirdly enough, no Fire Luigi, though. I should probably get that at some point, because that seems kind of important for a Luigi power-up collection. But anyway, though, it's not necessarily power-up, but it could be considered power-up. Let me just show you what it is, because I'm very excited to put this in my collection. That is the new Super Mario Brothers series with Luigi riding on Yoshi. You might be like, how do you know this is New Super Mario Brothers and not something like Mario World? Well, first off, Mario was more so the prominent character in Mario World. Also, was Luigi playable? I want to say he was, but generally merchandise wasn't used for that, and also Yoshi had a very old design, which merchandise was used on that. But also, this is just a more modern day type of idea. Having a plush, well, two different plush with one riding the other is just super cool. There's also this interesting style that New Super Mario Brothers plush have that other plush don't. And while this is a smaller version of that Luigi plush, it is still in that style, which I think is pretty cool. Now, the whole idea of, is Yoshi a power-up or not? Well, this could go back to the argument of something like our Wiggler video. Not exactly as in-depth, but the fact of you have Yoshi, who, yes, is a character, but comes out of a block and an egg in the Mario games. You jump on him, if you get hit, you lose him. In a way, it's kind of like the Donkey Kong Country, the old ones where if DK gets hit, then you essentially go to Diddy Kong, or vice versa. And Diddy Kong had some extra abilities, so he was a character, and more so Diddy Kong being a character, but he had some extra abilities. It's kind of like the same thing, but instead of being necessarily a brand new play style, extra character type thing, well, it's kind of hard to say what it is, Because Wiggler, there was that defined line. Whereas Donkey Kong, yes, Diddy has more powers and abilities and gimmicks, and he is an extra hit, but he's not as much of an extra hit because Diddy Kong can stand alone, whereas Yoshi can't. So he's more on the power up side of the spectrum in playing Mario games because, he adds extra moves, such as something like the Fire Flower, which instead of fireballs, you can eat things, spit things out. You have a flutter jump, but if you lose them, you don't have that for your general ability, and you can't just play as Yoshi in the games because it's not like Luigi or Mario jumps off and starts flailing around the whole entire stage going, "Oh my god, I just got hit!" And Yoshi's like, "Dude, what's wrong with you?" Unless you play Yoshi's Island. But then there's a lot of crying. This went into a big tangent, but pretty much, hopefully you guys get what I'm saying. It's another case of power up, but not really power up. But he's more of a character side. But what I think is really cool is the fact that they even did something like this. It's something that's so obvious that you think, oh yeah, a Mario brother riding a Yoshi as a plush? Yeah, that just makes a whole lot of sense, It's cute, it's cool. Why wouldn't you buy a plush of that, A lot of people who have nostalgia for those games would want to pick up a plush like this. But even though it's so obvious, it's still really awesome, and it took them such a really long time. Now, you might also be like, well, why is it yellow Yoshi? Well, there is actually a Mario and green Yoshi version of the plush, but I just opted to get this one. It was a little bit cheaper, and well, I already have a whole entire Luigi horde going. So I figured, well, why not? Also, yellow is one of my favorite colors, and my favorite color as a kid, so yeah. As to the reason why it's like this, if you look on the new Super Mario Brothers Wii poster, interestingly enough, these characters actually have a canon Yoshi in that game that they go to according to the box art. Mario being green Yoshi, Luigi's being yellow Yoshi, and I believe Yellow Toad's being pink? Was it? No, it was Blue Toad's being pink. I thought it was Blue Toad, and then I switched it. Which would then make the light blue Yoshi, which is my new favorite Yoshi color from the last few years, that would be Blue Toad's official Yoshi, effectively. The cool thing is, too, that in the actual game, you don't just get a bunch of green Yoshis, you actually get the different colors. However, this is only achieved through doing multiplayer, and not just it randomly showing a color if you are playing as whatever character. I also believe if you're playing as Luigi in the Switch version, you're not going to get yellow Yoshi, you're going to get green Yoshi, and the colors are just effective by how many players there are. So it also means that these characters have a canonical player order, essentially. I mean, Mario is always going to be player one, whereas the other characters can be whatever players. Again, another tangent. I'm sorry, but let's actually open this guy up before somehow me talking about a Mario plush ends up going into Curry being the end of the universe or some random crap like that. Not that I've had Curry or that it would end the universe, but who knows? Maybe there's some kind of Nintendo diabolical plot that I don't know about. But anyway, though, joke tangent aside, let's look at this guy. So, first things first, I do find something very interesting. Both poses are very stiff for an obvious reason, and they're also both scaled down. But to fit Luigi on there, and I guess maybe to make it stand, hopefully to make it stand, because if doesn't stand, this might be a problem. No, it stands because it's on my hand. The shoes are also really soft, and that's pretty cool. You know, I wouldn't mind having soft little Yoshi feet or Yoshi shoes walking on my hand if it feels like this, because it's kind of like that like little carpet feel, but like not that like big carpet, but well, I guess if you have like one of those like carpets with that thread, the twisty threads going out, but if it was like short and it was just like shrunk down onto a Yoshi shoe, like that's the feeling of it. Oh, maybe that's what the yarn Yoshis feel like. Well, no, because there's actually yarn Yoshi. Wow, I'm just on tangent central. Anyway, though, where I was actually going with the non-tangent side of this whole entire thing is the fact of they aren't just shrunken down. You also have Yellow Yoshi being tilted forward a little bit to accommodate for the weight of Luigi, which is kind of interesting. Um, you might be wondering, can you actually make Yoshi go forward? And the answer is no, because of the way it's stitched. Most plush, you can actually move the limbs, and while you can move the limbs of Yoshi's arms, this is the only thing on this plush that is movable, effectively making it a very collectible type of plush in this series, whereas most of the case, it's not this way. So I do find that pretty interesting. Um, it'll also be very interesting to display because of that lean forward. But if you are leaning it, putting it like this, I guess that does look like how it would look in the game, because you also want to make sure that Luigi is visible and Yoshi is visible. So on a head-on perspective, this makes sense if you're looking at it from a game perspective, but looking at it from the side, it does look kind of weird just because they generally are a little more propped up for the Yoshis. Of course, though, again, this doesn't really matter. Another thing that I have noticed is that Yoshi's feet have not been scaled down. The biggest reason for this is just so that you have more weight onto the actual shoe to make sure that it is able to stand upright and not constantly falling over, because the foundation of the plush just is too small. You can think of things such as like, you know, figurines, how they have that gigantic base so that there's something to go off of. Of course, those are a little different from this. Another thing that I do notice is that to give it more foundation, the bottom of the shoes do have a cardboard inside of them so that they do stand flat instead of most plush like how Luigi's is, where it's just stuffed and it wouldn't be able to stand, once again, for weight. Um, the interesting thing too is that looking at a plush like this, you have to think of a lot of different things that you normally wouldn't for a plush, like the things I'm constantly mentioning. Something that I do find kind of cool though is that they still put in Yoshi's little orange scales on the back of his head. Now, because of how closely stitched Luigi actually is, I'm not 100% sure if there are more scales underneath, but the more likely case is that Luigi is probably actually sewn onto Yoshi's head. His hands themselves are, whether they're just by a few strings, like, you know, other plush, such as a Baby Mario and Baby Luigi one that I have, where their hats are sewn on by a few strings and they have hair underneath, or if it's more like this kind of one, where there is no hair, it's just fully attached. The hands themselves look like they have very strong strings on them, however, but you do have the full hand, as I can actually put my finger behind there, but that's a smaller type of surface area, so it wouldn't really make a lot of sense to only do, well, to just have it stitched all around, and then it would look a little bit weird. However, with the body itself, it's very possible that they could do that, but it's also so closely attached to each other that I really wouldn't be able to tell, and if they do have it stitched that way, well, I guess I'd be able to tell just by looking at it, and they don't. Also, looking at this side, I just realized you can see the scales, they are pressed, which means they aren't attached, it's just attached by the hands, and, oh, the butt. Okay, I thought it was going to be the shoes or the legs, but actually, it's also attached on Yoshi's saddle, which it's very subtle, but if you look past this tag, you guys might not be able to see it, you might, but there is a tiny white string connecting from Luigi's moneymaker to Yoshi's red saddle. Another interesting detail is the fact that Yoshi's saddle is still a different type of texture. It's still a harder texture. Probably another case of being able to fit Luigi on there as well as be a foundation for that stitching, if I had to guess. The white on here, I'm guessing, yeah, that's probably the same amount. Well, that's probably the same fabric as the gloves. Of course, though, since this is a Nintendo plush, the white on the Yoshi for his cheeks and his belly are a different fabric than the gloves as well as the saddle. The eyes do seem like they're a bit harder. Of course, you have the correct black eyes, and pretty much as stated before, this just looks like the same Yoshi from the new Super Mario Brothers line of plush, except for the fact that it is scaled down. The same thing goes for Luigi, as I said before. The fabrics are going to be the same. They're going to look the same. It's just that you have a lot less mobility and a lot less posability than the ones that are very free running. At the same time, though, this could be a very good thing. Now, let's give a little bit of a better look at Luigi as to himself. So, if you have seen that other plush, you essentially get the idea. Since I haven't shown that off, you do have the ears being flat, which works very well. They're very soft, and actually, because they're so small, I have more faith in them not getting damaged, which you might think is weird, but they just feel a lot more attached because of that. You do have the hair itself being the other thing that looks like they didn't really shrink down. I'm guessing maybe they thought that it would be too small or too hard for a machine to process, because this is, scaling it down by not half, but like maybe like 15% to a quarter. Of course, though, as stated before, you do have the hat that is attached to the head. You cannot take this off. Unlike Yoshi to Luigi, this is 100% seamed to his hair. There is no hair under this, but as the plush always do, they put the eyebrows underneath, which I think is a pretty interesting detail that they didn't need to do, since the hat lays like this, and you'd never really even see them, but I guess they figured if something happened to the brim, you at least see the eyebrows, and, then it doesn't look too weird. I guess realistically, the only time you really see Mario or Luigi's eyebrows would really be in artwork, whereas in the actual games, you don't really see them as much as something like the mustache, which is curved right around the nose, fits perfectly fine in there, and it's pretty much just a crescent, but you can see a little bit of an indent there. So that's pretty much the whole entire plush. I do apologize if I talked in circles a little bit. I wasn't really sure where to go or talk about this plush, as it's a very different plush than the other plush that I've talked about. And since it's two of them and my brain is just very rambly, I kept going back and forth them. But hopefully you guys still enjoyed this video. If you guys would like to see the Mario and Yoshi plush, let me know in the comment section down below so that I can try to get it if you guys are interested. Let's be honest, I'm eventually probably going to try to get it, but it'll help if I know you guys are interested. And with that all being said and done, thank you all for watching. Show us out with your brother, mother, sister, father, iguana, and I hope to see you guys in the next Mario plush figure, whatever unboxing. Alright guys, keep Toe safe. Oh yeah, Luigi time. Bye guys.